Hola, hola, Violeta here. If you have been wanting to get into real estate investing and go out there and buy your first rental property, or maybe you want to get your second or third rental property, but for some reason something has been holding you back, whether it's the fear of losing money, or you feel like you can't find a deal right now, or maybe you're just overwhelmed with all the options, I got something for you. I am creating the Claim Your Keys coaching program where we're going to get into these mental barriers and more and learn how to overcome them so you can get out there and start your financial freedom journey with rental properties. And the best part is that it's going to be a group coaching program, so you're going to have other Latinas that are out here trying to start their rental property investing journey as well. This is launching soon, but I am having limited spots available. So make sure that you sign up for the waitlist for more information and to get first dibs. Plus, my waitlisters are going to get a bonus. So if you want to become a founding member of this program and also be surrounded by other Latinas that are wanting to buy that first or second rental property, make sure you sign up. Hola, welcome to another episode of the Money Chisme podcast. I am Violeta, your host, and here on the Money Chisme podcast, we talk about money and finance and entrepreneurship, but I also share the stories, the money journeys, and just like stories from our community. And so, with me today to share her story, her journey is Heather Reese, and she is here to just share her journey, which is pretty interesting because I'm curious to talk about because she has an interesting background. But I'm going to turn over to Heather so she can introduce herself. Hola, Heather, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Hola, everybody. So, my name is Heather Reese, and I am an attorney in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am also Latina. I am adopted from Peru. And I also do plus size modeling and content creation. And my biggest thing now is I started a series on Instagram where I showcase Latino, Latina, and Latinx businesses. And my money journey has been one that is very unconventional.
In the Latino community, we always talk about like how growing up we didn't have many talks about money. So especially like, first gens like myself or whatever are like trying to figure out finances as they go. So I'm interested to hear your side because you were actually adopted by Jewish parents, right? And so I want you to go
Yes.
through your story, how that went.
Yeah, so I was adopted by a Jewish mother, and I guess you could call him like pseudo-Catholic, agnostic. I don't know the right term for him, father. And my Jewish upbringing was pretty uh like close knit. Like I went to a private Jewish school for kindergarten through 6th grade, and my mom was like a very successful female scientist growing up. My dad worked at worked at the same place, worked at a lab in the building that she was in. And I feel like money was never ever talked about. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was like my mom would kind of say it's like a taboo thing to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Um because it wasn't like we were hurting for it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that was the big thing, is that she was just like, you don't ever want to come off um overly privileged, but but always be aware of your privilege. Never ever
Yeah.
hide it. Never pretend you don't have it, because it's disingenuine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, for me, like money wasn't a big thing we talked about growing up at all. Like I think me and my sister and my brother were all adopted. Me and my sister are both from Peru. My brother is from Honduras. Our parents were very open about our adoption.
Mm-hmm.
We had maps of our countries when we were growing up. We had toys. We had money from our countries in
Mm.
little jewelry boxes. So it was really cool. But yeah, money was definitely not something we really talked about ever. Like it was, and I don't know if that's like very common in the Jewish community. I just know
Mm-hmm.
that that's how it was in like my family upbringing, is that it wasn't like something that we had a long talk about, which I really think did a disservice to me as I became an adult.
Yeah.
A key thing, it was very much like, don't be flashy, don't be taboo, because it is taboo to be that way, because we didn't want to,
Mm-hmm.
there's that old money versus new money kind of concept. And it
Yeah.
was, and I think it was like my mom was the breadwinner. You know what I mean? My mom was
Mhm.
making way more money than my father was making. And that was already, in the 90s seen as kind of like,
Mhm.
controversial happening. So I think
Yeah.
she was very much like, just be humble and, hopefully you'll figure out money yourself.
So, so what kind of like scientist was she? Like just kind of like doing research, or like what kind of stuff was she's doing? If you're able to say it, because I don't know
No,
how
no,
some
I can
scientists
say it.
are.
Now she was a computer scientist at
Uh-huh.
first, and then she worked on some DNA sequencing of something, and she would be
Mm.
so mad that I can't remember because she thought it was so cool, and I'm sure it is so cool to people that don't know her. Um, but no, no, no. I know that she worked computer scientist for a long time. She was one of like one of the first women in a group. She was working at DuPont at the time in
Mhm.
Delaware, which is like a big company. But yeah, I don't know all the details of all the stuff that she worked on. I just know that she traveled a lot, and
Mm.
that when I was younger, they used to do take your daughter to work day, and I
Oh,
used
nice.
to get to go and see her at work, and it was like I would never really understand what's happening. I just knew there were giant computers, and
Yeah.
she would go into something called debug mode, which meant like I
Uh-huh.
couldn't bother her because she was trying to fix some problem on a computer, and I would
Uh-huh.
never know what it was. But like computers had been around my life since I was like before I could talk. Like she would say like other kids were playing and you like with games and you were playing with JavaScript on your computer. I couldn't tell you what JavaScript is now, but as a
Yeah.
kid that was, going to her office, that's the things that I had to play with. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what she was.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was younger we had the whole MySpace stuff, and like it wasn't until like more recent years when it started coming up was that we were all kind of like coders and
We were
things, and
coding.
I was like I didn't even realize that's what we were
Add this
doing.
to
I
my
was just trying to put
resume
a song. I was just trying to put a song and make my page look all cute and stuff.
and have the things come down. Like I remember you
Yes,
could have the words
I
come down.
love that. I love the little sparkly things that come down or whatever. And oh man, I do kind of miss that sometimes. But yeah, so you mentioned that you went to private school. So I'm curious, like, what about in private school? Did they kind of like have any type of finance classes or things? Because I'm trying to remember, in my schools, I think uh, I remember like there was one class that we did balance a check, and like that's the most I could remember of learning for the most part. So I wonder like if in private school they did that as or not.
No. So I went to private school from K through sixth grade. And I
Uh-huh.
went to a private Jewish school where you like learned Hebrew half the day, English half the day. It was like a very small school. There was 12 kids in the class in
Uh-huh.
my grade, and they were the same 12 kids from kindergarten through sixth grade. But
Mhm.
they did have something that was called the spiral curriculum, which like introduced you, if I recall correctly now. I mean, somebody could probably tell me I'm wrong. I don't remember. But
Mhm.
it would be like it would teach you a concept 2 years before you were actually going to learn it. So when you learned it, it would not be foreign to you, is the way I remember understanding it.
Mhm.
So I would learn 2 years ahead of my grade every year. And I
Mhm.
do remember going into my next school like very advanced.
Yeah.
But also, I had a private one on one teacher. Like, I had a private one on one aide because I had
Mhm.
ADHD. And
Mhm.
no one taught me about money. No one ever taught me about money. Like, that's the gag of life, right? Is that
Yeah.
I didn't learn about money until I was 32 years old and I was going
Oh
through a
wow.
divorce.
Oh
And then
wow.
very quickly, I learned about money.
From high school you went to college, obviously, since you got you're a lawyer. It's like, so how did that go? Were you just like not
Not paying
I
attention.
mean yeah,
Literally, literally
I was
not
gonna say,
paying
I was like,
attention.
you were like me where I was just like pew pew, just not really
Yeah,
having
it's
a
so
budget or anything.
no, it's so embarrassing. So, I went to college, right? Well, no, no. Before I went to college, I was in high school. I met my ex-husband when I
Mm-hmm.
was 17 years old.
Mm.
I moved in with his family when I was 19. They took
Mm-hmm.
full financial responsibility of me.
Oh wow.
I went to college then. I went to college around then. My mother paid for my college, and my mom paid, I think, for 1 year of my law school. And
Mhm.
then I took out loans, and I got to tell you, no one explained to me any portion of these loans and any
Yeah.
concept. I was just like, okay, 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 sign things.
Yeah, free money.
Um,
Yep. Here, I'm gonna sign
right.
on the dotted line.
And so I think that was where the disconnect is, right? Is
Yeah.
I went from one home to another home where I didn't have to worry about money because my in-laws,
Yeah.
I didn't pay rent. They never asked for us for a dime.
Mhm.
Um, even when I was working, like they paid for everything. They really took
Mhm.
care of me. Like, when I went to law school, anything I could have ever needed, like in law school, they always paid for.
Mhm.
Um, the plan was, because we had gotten married, we were
Mhm.
then inheriting the home. And that,
Mm.
my ex-father-in-law is significantly older than my ex-mother-in-law. And she was
Okay.
like, well, you guys will just live here and take care of me. And I love her. Like, even to this day,
Yeah.
we're best friends. Like, we're going out. We're going out later
Oh, okay.
this week. Um, and I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, I love a family dynamic, and I would never want to
Mhm.
leave her. So I
Yeah.
never thought about money. Like, money had no concept because I had a paid off home,
Yeah.
and any money that was coming in was mine. And what I kind of agreed with my ex-husband, not knowingly, was that they had made this seem like it made sense. They had said, well, your ex-husband doesn't have any like credit debt, right? Like, he doesn't have any
Uh-huh.
student loans. So
Yeah.
we'll make sure we take out all the debt in your name, because you already have the negatives against you. So one person
Oh.
will have completely clear, cool credit. And it sounded great because, again, I was like, I'm never gonna get divorced. We'll be together forever. This
Oh
is
my
fine.
gosh.
We have a home. Well, everything came crumbling down when we got divorced at 32, and I had inherited all the debt. And I
Oh
had no
wow.
idea. I had no concept of rent, no concept of money, no concept of credit. Like, I remember people telling me about credit when I was in my 20s, and me being like, "Oh, I don't care. I don't
Uh-huh.
need credit. I'm going to own this home. Like, we're
Yeah.
owning this home. I don't need to worry about it. I never have to apply for anything."
Yeah.
And boy, did that backfire. So talk to your kids about credit even when they get married, cuz darn, I mean, like,
Yeesh.
that's crazy to me, cuz at 32, it was embarrassing to have to go to, like, financial advisors and,
Mhm.
like, get turned down for renting and getting a home when I make a
Yeah.
significant income. But because my credit was so bad, because I wasn't even, like, monitoring it. Like, there was no
Yeah.
monitoring of anything going on.
Oh wow. So like did they just like leave you with all the debt and then you or like
No,
or what happened there?
I mean, so they paid for a lot of my life when I was growing up. So I have no ill will towards them in any aspect. There was an agreement that was made. I decided to eat it. There was a large portion. There was some portion that was paid to me, and but at the end of the day, like, trying to rebuild something from nothing is the problem, right? Like, he didn't have to rebuild anything. He had
Yeah.
like a 720 credit score. I had
Jeez.
like a 510. Like, I mean, we were dealing with totally different things, because
Yeah.
there was a lot of things I didn't even know that were getting done, because
Yeah.
I didn't care. We were husband and wife, you know what I mean? And again, when people tell you this fairy tale, like, you're going to own this home, you're going to do, like, you don't have to worry about money. And truly, I wouldn't have if we had stayed together, but you
Yeah.
know, the chips fall where they may, and then you kind of have to deal with it. And I remember crying at 32, being so embarrassed,
Yeah.
because I wanted to go, get a house. And they were like,
Yeah.
babe, we're not approving you for a house. And I said, I'm a lawyer. And they were like,
Yeah.
we don't care.
You don't get
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
I
like,
get credit.
check my income. And they were like, no, no, we don't care that you
Yeah.
make this much money. We care that you have bad credit. And I'm like, what? That's
Mhm.
real? That thing is
Yeah.
real?
Yeah.
Crazy. It was
Yeah,
so
that's one of
embarrassing.
the yeah, that's one of the things that like people don't understand about credit. And it goes the other way too. Like um not having any credit or like having a credit but not using it, which is the weirdest thing, right? You have to, in order to build credit, you have to use your credit, which is like, okay, well then how do I use?
Right.
It's like, okay, so yeah, like, or people that are make good money and able, more than enough to afford, a certain thing or whatever, but they get turned down because they don't have the right types of accounts. Like they don't have long-term debt. They have just a credit card and they never use the credit card. They just have it there. And so they're like getting denied, and it's like it's really crazy once I figured out like how credit works. And um the whole time growing up, like I was told like, yeah, don't use any type of debt or credit or anything. I think that I will say having that mindset from my mom and my dad, that they were so scared of debt. Like that's the only thing that saved me from student loans.
That's smart. See, I
Because,
wish my
yeah,
parents would have done that.
yeah.
I was
I
like, it's
always
not real. It's
say,
monopoly money. It's fine. Like I just remember
yeah,
swiping credit cards. Like I had a credit card to every single like retailer that you could
yeah,
probably think
yeah,
of. And also because no one really explained things to me, I closed accounts. So I would fully pay them off and then I would close them. And it wasn't like I was leaving them up and paid off. Like the second I got some money, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna pay this off and then close it. And then they were
yeah,
like, somebody said to me, that's hurting you. Don't do that. Leave them
yes,
open. They're paid off. Well, I was like, no one said that to me. No one told me that. I thought I was supposed to just get rid of this Boss Gob's credit card. Like, I mean, it's
yeah,
crazy. And it was like,
yeah,
it was scary. I mean, it's been a journey. It still is. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I think people have a conception that because I'm a lawyer, I have my
Mhm,
life together. And that is
mhm,
far from the truth.
yeah,
Um, because when divorce happens and you're rebuilding yourself, and I think
yeah,
I really tried hard to destigmatize the fact of saying I don't know and I'm lost. You know what I mean? Like I
mhm,
think that was the big thing. I reached out and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing with money. And if a 32-year-old lawyer doesn't know,
yeah,
then I don't know what we're teaching other kids. And like, if I'm not embarrassed to tell you that I had a credit score of like a 500, then
yeah,
like, don't be embarrassed. Like, because embarrassing, like me sitting here and being embarrassed wasn't going to help it get better. I was just
yeah,
going to like get stuck in this wave of me being more and more upset of like, how did I get here? How did I get here? Instead of being like, how do I fix it?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things, is like this avoidance of the issue. And so I'm glad that you decided to like, yeah, well, well, yeah, it sucks. I got to figure out how to fix it now. So what was that process like? What, I guess, like take us through a little bit of that journey. Like you realize that, oh shit, like all my stuff is jacked up and everything. So what did you do, like, I guess first? You kind of mentioned that you did financial planning a little bit, but is
Mhm.
that what you did first, or like did you just like what was it?
Oh, first I just like was like panicking, right? So I didn't do financial
Panic
planning
mode.
until much later.
Yeah.
But first, I just said I was like, all right, I'm gonna write down every single credit card that I have.
Mhm.
And well, first I set my student loans up for auto pay. Then I
Yeah.
said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take every single credit card I have and I'm gonna just pay the lowest amount, or not the lowest amount. I'm
Mhm.
gonna pay the lowest credit card. So
Yeah.
I was like, if I have this credit card for $100, I'm paying it off, not closing it, paying it off.
Mhm.
So I paid off, I think, around 4 credit cards. And then I said, all right, well, the next the next bonus check I get, or my next referral check at my job, I'm gonna use those. I'm gonna do the same thing again. And I'm gonna start backtracking and just paying off credit cards. Now, later I found out I should be paying the credit cards with the highest interest or whatever.
Mhm.
But at the
Mhm.
time, I was just like, no, I'm just going to get them off my credit report. I just want to make sure that I'm paying whatever I can, because in my
Yeah.
brain, which I know is not correct now, I said, well, I'd rather have only 3 credit cards, even if they have a super high interest rate and I'm
Yeah.
paying the minimum on them, than have 5 at all, right? Like I wanted to pay off
Yeah.
those 3 to get to that point, or those 2. So that's what I did at first. I
Mhm.
also saw some like TikTok where it was like, pay 15 months before your due date, 15 days before your due date,
Yeah.
and then pay, and it was like that'll raise you. And I remember trying all these little schemes. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe that will do it. Maybe if I do that, it'll fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely, it was, a lot of it was watching TikToks and reading, and then having to bite the bullet and talk to other people and say like I remember having to call like my mom's friends and being like, hey,
Mhm.
I know everyone thinks I got it together, but like we really don't. And I just need, instead of like judgment, because I think it's so easy for people to judge people about money.
Mhm.
And trust me, like I judged myself. Like I was like, how
Yeah.
did I let myself get here? And I think what was worse is telling people how I got there, right?
Yeah.
People being like, wait, you took all the debt? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I know it sounds
Mhm.
crazy when you say it, but when I said it when I was 17 years
Yeah,
old,
cuz it yeah.
it's a fairy tale. It didn't sound crazy. It sounded like I was choosing to be with somebody for the rest of my life, and
Mhm.
our life together was going to be fine. I didn't really even factor it in, and it's like at 32, if my now fiance were to say take all the debt, I'd say go kick rocks. Like now at 32, I
Yeah.
know better. Like I always say to my
Yeah.
fiance now, I'm like, when it comes to money, like we like check in once a month, and
Yeah.
we go through the credit cards all together, and we say, all right, write down all the credit cards again. Let's see, when one of us gets a end of the year bonus, like, or like a referral. Like I just got a bonus, and I said, all right, we're gonna write down both
Mhm.
people's credit cards, and we're gonna go through them again. And when he gets his, we're gonna do it again. And I think, like, for me, that was the beginning. So the beginning was me paying off the credit card to the lowest balance.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I will say like yeah, there's like strategies for credit cards, but I just like to say like whatever is something that's going to keep you paying the credit cards is what's like cuz it's no point of like doing like uh the higher interest, but then you get like you lose motivation because you feel like it's not going nowhere and so you just like give up. Whereas like how you were doing it, you like seeing that okay, one checked off, another one checked off, and then you get some. So it's whatever like actually helps you reach the goal, in my opinion.
the
Yeah.
check mark is the big thing, right? Like, and I think that's the
Yeah.
thing for me. I think the big hit to me was in the confidence, where I said, damn, I'm really at a place where I'm a 32-year-old professional,
Mhm.
and I'm I have the credit of somebody who has been like, I don't even know what, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I think for me, like, even now, like I still pay off the lowest things. Like, and then
Mhm.
I do that thing where I like take the credit card out of my wallet, and then I go put it somewhere where I can't touch it. And I'm like, all
Mhm.
right, well, I'm not going to touch this credit card for like a year, right? Once I pay it
Mhm.
off, I'm not going to touch it for a year. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to work on the next one. I'm not going to touch it for a year. Because when I first did it, I paid almost all of them off, and then I ran them all right back up, because it's like, then I started living again, right? So
Mhm.
once I got myself back into a good space, I was like, okay, well, I'm getting an apartment. I need to get furniture for apartment. I need to get a bed. I need to get all this stuff. And I ran everything back up again. And it's so easy to get in that mindset, especially like when your income is decent, right? Like when your
Mhm.
income is decent, the like zero interest sounds great, right? Like so many furniture companies are like zero interest if you pay it off by the state. Well, I never listened to that. So then I end up paying interest anyway, because I end up not paying it by the date. And I'm like, well, see, that's just me not being as responsible and not financially sound. Now I'm like, when somebody hands me something, I'm like, I got to read this whole thing. I got to put the dates in my thing. I know it's annoying to you. I'm sorry, but like, I've just gotten played too many times. I play myself. So I have to really be like
Yeah.
holding myself accountable, because if not, I refuse to let myself get in a situation like that again.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I feel like it's important to share our stories because it's so easy to see like the big financial gurus or influencers or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a millionaire" or whatever. And it feels like it's unachievable and like it's not really relatable when the reality of most of our stories are going through things like that, learning things the hard way, like like I did, like you did. And we tend to just kind of hide that aspect of our journeys in with money. And I feel like it's important to share that, and that way people don't feel so much of the shame and guilt. It's like it's just part of life. It's part of like it would be awesome if we didn't have to go through that by, like you were mentioning, okay, now we teach the next generation not to fall for some of
Yeah.
these things that we fell for. And but we gotta show our downfalls too, and how we picked ourselves up. So you're back up on the picking yourself up and learning, and you said you went to financial advising or financial planning and things like that. So it sounds like you're on the right, on a good track now.
Yeah, I'm trying hard. It's definitely like, things are so tempting to go and buy, especially like for me, like when I get a big check,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh God, I could get all this stuff. And then I really have to remind myself, I have to be like, no, like that's just not, because back in the day, that was my life, right? When I was
Yeah.
married to my ex-husband, it was like if we got money, it was money that we got and we could do anything we want with it. Now I'm like, all right, well, I want to have children next year. Like I want to be able to feed my children. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a partner now who works at a bank. So
Mhm.
like he's always like, "What do you mean you didn't read that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm supposed to read it?" And he's like, "Yeah, Heath." Like he's like, "I tell you this all the time." So like he's definitely more financially aware than I ever was because
Mhm.
he didn't have parents like I had that were very like much like don't talk about money. I mean, his parents, one, his mom worked at a bank. So money was something that they all know and understand, like very much understand. So
Mhm.
it's always interesting, entering a space where I'm like, oh wow, you guys all know this kind of stuff, and I'm like, well, thank God, because I don't. So it's been great because for me, like, I definitely need that accountability with my partner too. Because I think the other problem is a lot of the times people get in relationships with people where two people are both living beyond their means, right? And
Mhm.
that's really how it was with me and my ex-husband. We had no sense of money,
Mhm.
no sense of means. And now very much like my fiance will be like, do we need to go out and eat dinner tonight? Like, can we just eat, the 30 things we have in the home? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, no, we should do that. Like, we're going to do the savings book. We write down all of this stuff. Like I said, we have money check ins where we're kind of like, both like, hey, this is what we have to put in the pot this month. Like, let's start making sure we save up. So it's a journey. And I think I always said I was going to be completely transparent when I went on the internet. I started going on the
Mhm.
internet 2 years ago when I went through the divorce, and the internet saw the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I said I might as well take them on this journey too. They might as well hear it because you're right. It is, there are so many content creators and influencers that have lavish lives and like
Mhm.
are out here with like you know a Prada bag and like skiing in Aspen, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna probably use Just Fly to pay for my ticket to go to Colorado, make 7 easy payments,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be wearing an outfit from I don't know, Target, cider. Like, I mean, for me it's just you put it into perspective, and I think I really always wanted to be as authentic and real and let people see like even people that expect to have it all together don't. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure it was a shock to a lot of people when I came out and was like, I'm like not only broke, I'm like beyond broke. Like I'm
Mhm.
in debt because when you go through a divorce, people are like, "You're talking about that?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." I'm like, because if I'm not, no one. I mean, everyone expects it to be like. I don't know. I just feel like it's tough to relate to influencers and content creators when their life always seems perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's a stigma on the like everyday person to have everything together. So when you see people that you expect to have it together, not have it together, I think it's like a nice refreshing taste. It's like
Yeah.
watching like the reality show that like is like a train wreck. Like I'm that. Like I'm that train wreck that's like going up and it's like working out, but I want you to see that there's still times where it's like, I'm like not doing all that well.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I'm trying to kind of like show uh the reality of a lot of stuff, because you'll see like with real estate investors, you see like the ads and stuff. I see them all the time, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm a billionaire. I have a over a million, blah blah blah." And it's all like rainbows and sunshine over there, and it's like the reality is different, like especially the first few years of when you get into it. It's like actually. Sometimes you lose money, sometimes you make money or whatever, and it's a up and down cycle. Um, 2024 was rough. I just ran the numbers. Like overall, I still came out at least making some money, but not what I had planned because so many issues. And I share that because it's important to share the journey and share the reality. Uh, we still are gonna get there. You're still gonna get and get done with your debt and come back up and then put yourself back on top. And same with me and everything like that. But we don't need to like sugarcoat it and show like at the end, because like you said, you could just like hide it, and then all of a sudden when you are good, like, oh, look at me or whatever, but hide all the downs that you had. So I'm glad you're being very authentic.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think the journey is half of the ride, right? I mean, for me,
Mhm.
it's like nothing hits you like your life changing in a day. And I think that was the big thing. Like people were shocked that I wasn't embarrassed, and I said I can't get any more embarrassed. Like nothing in my
Mm.
entire life will ever make me feel embarrassed more so than me literally like my husband left me a week into my brand new job and a
Mm.
day before our anniversary.
Oof.
And I had to go back to work, and everyone at my job was asking me how my anniversary trip was. And I
Oof.
had to say, it was a trip. And then I had to speak to people that have known me less than a week and say,
Uh-huh.
hey, we got a real issue right now because, my husband just left me and I am now not going to be living in that home. And I have to figure out where I'm going to live and what I'm going to do. And my boss at the time, who I was still at the firm now, was so gracious, so kind,
Mhm.
was like, we will do anything we can. Tell us what you need. Do you need us to help you get an apartment? Do you need us to help you get your dogs? Like, what do you need us to help you do?
Mhm.
Let me work like 2 days a week for almost 7 months, probably like my first year there. Because I was like,
Mhm.
hey guys, like this is I'm figuring out where I'm gonna reside. Like I have my
Yeah.
clothes in the back of my car. So I mean, I think nothing could embarrass me more than having to talk to people that had known me less than 2 weeks to say,
Ugh.
hey, my life just shattered apart when you just asked me how my anniversary trip was.
Yeah.
And now I need to tell you that I can't be at work. And
Oof.
so
Yeah.
I mean, the money thing was so secondary to that. So it was like, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to get embarrassed by anything,
Yeah.
decisions that people make. And all I can do is, build myself up and try to get back to the starting line. And then also, like, there's a different level of, um, appreciation I have doing it myself. Like
Mhm.
I think about that all the time. Like even when there's struggles with like money and stuff, I'm like, well, I'm paying my own rent. Well, I bought this. Like this is my bed.
Mhm.
This is my table. Like, when me and my fiance were furnishing our apartment,
Mhm.
it was like for him he had lived in other places before. He had had his own place before, but for me I had never. And at
Mhm.
32, I got to experience all these amazing firsts because I got to be like, oh no, this is mine. Like
Yeah.
this is something that's actually mine. When I got my car, signed over to me, like I'm like, oh, this is mine now. This is like
Yeah.
my stuff that I own and I have responsibility for. And I think that's also different, when you look at things through your own pockets. It's like my mom used to say, well, if you were paying for college, I'm sure you'd show up to class every day.
Mhm.
And I think it's like that with like life, right? Now that I know I'm
Yeah.
paying for it, I'm like, I'm gonna treat it better. Like I'm like, go, don't jump on that. You know what I mean? Like be nice to that couch. Like now I'm different because I'm like, I paid for that. So
Yeah.
I think it goes full circle with like all the things that your parents tell you.
Well, I'm glad that you're learning from that and coming back up, and that sounds like going through a cool journey of basically kind of like self-discovery too, because you start learning about yourself as you go through your money journey. And for those that are like interested in following your journey, where can they reach you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram the most. It's Heather underscore RXOXO. And yeah, I mean, I'm on there. I'm on Threads. I'm pretty active on Threads. I love Threads. It has all of my intrusive thoughts. So Threads is a great place to also find stuff. But Instagram's my main base. And I honestly, like,
Mm-hmm.
if people ever want to reach out to me because they feel like they have something to be embarrassed of, please. I will love to tell you some embarrassing stories, and I'd love to make people feel good, because at the end of the day, like, if a lawyer doesn't have it together, then it's not embarrassing if you don't have it together. People expect me to know everything about money all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't go to school for money. I went to
Yeah.
school for being a lawyer, arguing and being good at telling facts in a different way, not
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with counting. My boss, even to this day, will be like, have me do something with money, and he'll be like, God, did they not teach you about money in school? And I'm like, no, I had a calculator. Like, you want me to do this by hand? Like, I had a calculator, so yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your story and um showing the reality of a journey that we go through, because it's important, like I said, um to share our stories from our community, and so that way we could get rid of that stigma of like thinking that we should all be like, you know, financial gurus or money professionals, or that we got all our shit together, when no, life is different. Life is gonna throw you. I know some people that had it all good, and then they go through something too, and like they go back down, and then they have to pick themselves back up and everything. So thank you for sharing your journey.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and share this episode so others can also find this podcast. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias listed in the show notes below, where you can also find resources to help you in your financial journey. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the podcast, you can find that information in the show notes. Other than that, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.